So I would just say check it right away and share it. Let me know when you've shared it.
Good. Hello, Helen. How are you?
Hi, Chelsey. I am doing well. I'm really excited for us to chat today. This continuation of intuition and faith talks, renewing our purposeful pathway, your purposeful pathway to heartfelt healing. We've talked a lot over the last few weeks. We could talk forever about this topic and others. But really, our goal here is to create a place for women or men to come and feel a safe place to talk about their faith, maybe some of the things that they have felt uncomfortable talking about, maybe from their own experiences or from the experience that someone else created that for them. And I know during the first session a few weeks ago, we shared our stories and how similar they were, also how different they were. And last week we talked about and really dove into why most of us, especially the two of us, feel like something is missing and why the things we tried just don't always work. So I'm really excited this week to hop into, how can we find that missing thing? And also, why don't things always work, or why do they work for a little bit and then stop working? So that's what we're going to dive into today. Chelsey, I'd love to know any of your insights about the last few weeks and what you've really felt and how that has, worked in your life.
Yeah, I appreciate the conversation so much. It's what I need to talk about for my own healing, for the things that I've kept locked inside of myself for so long. I have these thoughts and I think about these things, and growing up, whenever I would ask questions or bring anything that was uncomfortable to the surface, it was usually fear-based mentalities is what I was met with. I was met with being told really hurtful, mean things about what that means as a person for me, and what that spoke of my character if I had those thoughts or I had those questions. And ultimately, what I've really come to understand is when in all of these different avenues where I found a connection with my intuition, is recognizing that my intuition is at the core of what we all are. It's what makes us human, not necessarily that we're just humans having a physical body. I believe at my core that we're all spiritual beings having a human experience, and on a soul level, we're here to grow, we're here to learn, we're here to experience life together with people from our soul families, or even people in our biological families, that we have things to work through, that everyone we come in contact with is a teacher or someone to show us something within ourselves that we have blocked away. And with that, intuition is something that we're all born with. It's not something that is outside of us. We all have that. A baby cries because they're hungry. Their intuition, their gut instincts, they know something's not right, I'm uncomfortable, and they vocalize their needs. And babies and children, they don't stop doing that until somebody makes them stop, until somebody says, enough, knock it off, no more. And when kids are met with that, and my own experience when I was met with that, I didn't take it as this isn't the right time. I took it as I'm not right. There's something wrong with me. I'm not showing up good enough. There's something different about me than other people. And although that's not wrong, I am different. We're all different. But that fear of being so different from everyone else is what kept me the same as everyone around me, because we all have that fear. Not everyone, but a lot of people, they hold that fear. They don't want to be judged. They don't want to be viewed as an outcast or a lone wolf or the black sheep of the family. And so for me, embodying that intuition and learning over all of the different healings and all of the different modalities that I've done to work on my own self-development, it's honed in on that intuition. It's a muscle. It's something that if you don't use it, you lose it. And most of the adults walking around today have completely lost touch with it. That everything is a heady approach. They're not feeling their body. And I've noticed, over the course how it changes. And when I talk about intuition, some may say that's direct communication with God or Jesus, their higher power, whatever it is. Intuition and like the universe is the verbiage that resonates the most with me, because it doesn't trigger me in the way the other verbiages have because of my life experience. So again, what I've noticed is everything I do, it strengthens that intuition, and it makes it, as it gets stronger, it makes it easier for me to not disregard it, to not second guess it. When I get that like sucker punch in my gut where I just know like you need to do this and you need to do this right now,
Mm-hmm.
I stick with it. I connect to it and I go with it. Whereas in the past it was, questioning everything and looking at all the perspectives and analyzing it all and trying to figure it all out. And when I stopped the heady approach to it and I just trusted what I knew,
Mm-hmm.
everything flows. Everything is, when I say easy, I do mean there's a lot of ease with what I do because I'm not fighting myself anymore. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
going with what is right in my
Yeah.
mind, in my body, and in my experience.
Oh, I love that. There's so much I want to say right now, but really it's a hard thing to explain too, right? When clients or potential, women seek me out to help them, it's not always easy for me to put into words like, I'm going to help you connect with your inner self. And they're like, what are you talking about? And a healer that's very close to my heart. And when I did my Reiki 1 and 2, she just get out of your head and into your heart, get out of your head and into your heart. And I was just like, what does that even mean? Right. And it is that sitting in the quiet. It is listening to things. And that's scary because
Mhm.
you probably haven't done it before or you haven't done it for a while. And when you do that, things will come up that you don't want to feel. Things will come up that you don't want to experience. And I was doing some strategic planning yesterday for my business with another entrepreneur. And she just kind of said to me, she's like, you help people feel.
Mhm.
And I love that because that's what we do. And that's what we help people do. But that's scary. It's scary to feel the things you don't want to feel. That's why so many people hide. That's why so many people buffer. That's why so many people do, because when they stop, they're going to feel it. And that's scary. It really
Absolutely.
is. And so, yeah, creating that space for others, for ourselves, for others to hold that space for them is really important, I know, to both of us in this healing process. And yeah, we're formed by so many that came before us that told us things. As you were talking, I'm just like, it's hard because as a parent, you're like, oh, I totally messed that up, right? I said this, or now they're going to think that, and then they're going to have to go to therapy for this. And we do the best we can in the situation we are. And if I can live through life knowing and teach kids and others that like no one is trying to hurt you, even if there are malicious people, because there are in this world. We were just talking about this. There's malicious people no matter where you are. There's people who desire to do malicious things, but inherently, like no one is actually trying to hurt you. They're probably hurting you because they're hurting. And like it doesn't even have anything to do with you. So I offered that thought to a client this week. It's like, it was a very strong download. I was in church and I was praying for her. And I said, what does she need? And just so strongly, the words, no one is trying to hurt you. And I shared that with her, and it was very profound because that's how she's been walking through life, is in this attack mode that everyone is trying to hurt her. And so just calming things down a little bit to connect with that was super powerful, not only for me, but channeled into those that I'm helping. So yeah, that's amazing.
Absolutely. It reminds me of a quote by Carl Jung, and it's, if there's a fear of falling, the only safe, consistent way of overcoming it is deliberately jumping. And if
Mm,
you're holding these fears, and the reason I bring that up is because, and this is going to be a little bit more, I think, intensive than the other ones we've done up until this point, but it
mhm,
really brings me to the talk of the devil, of Satan, of Lucifer, of that fear. And I had spent a lot of my life just terrified of this awful, horrible, fiery being. And, the growing up in the religious way that I did, it was put out there. The way my childhood brain incorporated it, understood it, was that like this demon was going to come get me and take me away and lock me into this horrible place. And I was so scared of it. And because I was so scared of it, like I started just bringing bad things into my life, because I had a stronger fear of the devil than I did a faith in something more powerful. My fear was so much more rooted and ingrained in me to actively experience life in that state. And as I did all of these different things and I started working through these fears, and I remember, one of my first hypnotherapy sessions that I had done was my fear of the dark. Because as an adult, like I'm an adult, I have kids, I should not be scared of the dark. I should not be flipping the light switch off and running to my bed to get into it as an adult. And I couldn't figure out, why am I so scared? And then I, do this session, and the memories I went back to, and they were all rooted in things that I had heard people say, and nothing that I actually experienced. It was just the sounds and the voices of the people around me and what they said. There's people I was in contact with once or twice in my life, and they said something about the negativity of the devil, and it stuck. It clung onto me, or I clung onto it, because I don't want that. And if I don't want that, and in my rapid transformational schooling, that's something that we were taught, and was really made clear for us, is what we actively resist in our lives, it persists and it keeps coming back, and it keeps coming back because of the resistance. We're putting up this wall of like, I don't want that, I don't want that, I don't want that. Well, the mind cannot understand negatives. So when we're saying, I don't want that, what your mind is taking in is, I want that. And thus it's coming back to us. Which again, that's where all of the practices, it continually went back to, everything I experienced was a result of what I was told, not what I experienced. It was what I was told by other people about what is God, what is the devil, what is religion, what is spirituality, what is faith. All of it was incorporated based on what I was told, and none of it was what I actually believed. So it's, what worked for a little while was great, but then, you do healing work, and then you realize that belief was faulty, and you change that belief in your head. Well, now the practices that you were doing don't work because you don't have that belief anymore. So now you have to figure out, well, what is this new belief, or this other belief that's connected to other realms, other facets, other things, and shift. So it's kind of a cat and mouse game until you're able to embody it.
Yeah. The thought work is so important in all of this, and the belief work as well. What you were saying there was like, your energy goes where your energy flows where your thoughts go, right? If you are thinking that you can't do it, or that you are stuck, or that there is lack, like your energy will all go there, focused on that lack or that place of fear. And so many of us have fear because of influences, right? Like of the world, of what we're told, of what we experience. And it's hard for us to believe in something that maybe we haven't seen yet, or we haven't experienced yet. And it can be really powerful when we're able to do that. And so, I know last week we talked about finding what works for us as individuals to connect with God or a higher power. And, what we're diving in more of today is, why don't the things we try always work? And you just highlighted that, as far as our beliefs may change, our beliefs may flex and grow, and maybe we get a new perspective. And then it's important to, when our actions don't align with that, you're going to feel this dissonance, right? One thing I always, and this is just an analogy, because I think most people can relate to it, right? People used to come to me to lose weight, and they would say, I would say, well, they had a goal, right? Like, I'm gonna lose 20 pounds. And I said, what is your thought about that? And the deep thought is, I'm fat. And when you're trying to make a change from this thought that is fear, or, makes you feel a certain way, like, of course you're not going to get a result. And I may have referenced that last week, but it's always just powerful, that analogy, because of course your body's not going to have a transformation when you are not showing it love.
Yeah.
It's really hard to do. And so, are there some other ways you want to expound on, as far as why don't the things we try always work? Why doesn't implementation always work? Why can it feel so hard?
Yeah. So we touched on beliefs and thoughts and stuff, but one thing I really want to highlight is the difference between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. Our conscious mind is logical, it's analytical, it's what most of us use to operate in our day-to-day life, because that's how we're conditioned, it's how we're programmed in our upbringing, our parenting, schooling, religion, all of it. It works to condition that conscious mind. And so in our conscious mind, and I use we'll go with your, how you're talking about weight, because I have that real life experience. I've dropped over 100 pounds. Again, it was over an extended period of time, but part of the reason was my conscious mind. I knew, like, I don't want to be like this. I don't feel good. I'm not happy with who I am. But then when I did the inner work, whether it be through means of hypnotherapy, meditation, doing yoga practices on my own, doing actual workouts, journaling, whatever facet, when I was focusing on weight in my subconscious mind, the weight I held on to was a protection. I was so fearful of the people around me, that they were going to hurt me. I was scared, and not just people. I was scared of the devil. I was scared of myself. I was scared of everything. I had fear upon fear upon fear. And so every time I would address one of the fears that I became consciously aware of, weight would start shedding. And then it clicked that this weight I was holding on to, it was literally a physical manifestation of an insulation I was putting around myself. And not only that, when you're in such a deep-seated seat of fear, you don't want people to see you. So that sounds contradictory, because if you're overweight, then, then there's, well, now they're judging me. They're looking at me because I'm heavy or whatever. But ultimately, when I was heavy, I didn't find myself beautiful. I didn't find myself lovable. And so if I could make myself appear ugly on the outside, the way I felt ugly on the inside as a result of that programming. And again, until you get the conscious mind and the subconscious mind on the same page, nothing's going to change. So it's not just doing the inner work, it's really understanding, what does my conscious mind think? What do I logically think about this situation? And then what do I think under the surface? What does that little girl, that inner child within me think about it? What does my shadow self think of it? And bringing them all together, having them then all on the same page, that's where change happens. That's where we see the manifestation of what we're wanting in physical reality. But it all has to start on the inside.
Oh, I love that. There's so many layers there, right? Like figuratively and in actuality, to that story, to your story. And yeah, when I ask, someone like, well, what are you thinking right now? Or what, trying to get to that thought, that really subconscious belief, like, it never comes out right away, right? We have to dig for it. We have to feel for it. And that's uncomfortable. And so the work to do this, to get to this place of true, joy and gratitude and happiness. And like you said, like, it's just easy, right? Like, it's this contagious energy of connecting with your inner self. And it's amazing. And it's not something you can always put words to, but it's definitely something that people already have inside of them. And that's like the most fun, magical thing. Because years passed and I still look back at my vision and my goals, and it's like helping women know that they're far more capable of what they think they are, right? Like, we're all so capable, but we allow fear to tamp it down. We allow our thoughts to tamp it down. We allow these influences to really tamp it down. And I appreciate, you saying the word devil, right? Like, not a lot of people say that. And the devil really distracts us, right? They're like a shiny object. Think about that instant gratification. When you've told yourself, you don't want to do this, right? Like I used to show up to every party and be like, I'm not drinking. And then guess what? I would drink, right? Like that's really the devil at work, or whatever you want to call it. That instant gratification, that greed, that lust, that gluttony of doing something that's not in alignment with who you are. But in order to know who you are, we have to tap into that work, right? The subconscious and, the work that we both do a lot of times with individuals is, whether it's a form of goal setting or establishing values or a vision, right? Knowing what that is, so that it's like, it's not even a question anymore. It's just like this inner knowing of, this is what I connect with. This is what feels best for me. And yeah, things evolve and adapt and change, which is why something that you did 10 years ago when you were an entirely different person surrounded by entirely different circumstances may not work anymore. And so I see a lot of clients when they're going through a transition, right, in life, like it's a transitional time and things are heavy and things are harder, and it's hard for them to see the light out, the light through the tunnel, because what they had done up until now just isn't working. They have the tools inside of them. They just have to refine them and figure out what works for them. But I was someone who always sought without me. Like, I'm a researcher. I'm going to ask 20 people. I remember when, 2 doctors when I was 29 said, you're having back surgery. And I'm like, no, I'm not. And I emailed all the people I knew who had had back surgery. I messaged them and I got all sorts of responses like, don't ever do it. And then I, do the laser one out of here. And it causes this almost greater fear and analysis paralysis. Now I'm someone who's like, yes, do the research when you make a big decision, but ultimately know that you will know what feels best and not within your body. And again, that's something that is available to everyone, but isn't always tangible to teach or to learn. It takes time and it takes space. And it's really powerful when it happens. Yeah.
I think another component of it too that people don't talk about a lot is it's in one of my clients and I, through her experience, we've kind of coined this term. It's called TABA, which ultimately, it's an acronym. You break it down to trusting, allowing, believing, and accepting. If you don't have trust for yourself, number one, you can't trust anyone else. You can't trust a higher power. And if you do, it's rocky. It's not balanced. It's unstable. So in order to really go anywhere and get to the core of who you are, you have to be willing to trust yourself to do that, and to trust yourself to walk through that experience. And as you're going through it, allowing what comes to come, no matter how scary it is, no matter how challenging it is, knowing that this is coming to you for a reason, to be addressed, to be healed, to be worked through, so you can continue moving forward and stepping into that role where you do believe. If you hold the belief that, and we see this now, there's scientific proof that shows our thoughts create our reality, that's scientifically proven now. So there's things that religion and spirituality have always been saying, and being mindful of your thoughts, and that becomes who you are. It's science. We see that merging of science and spirituality happening. And then beyond that, once you believe that everything that you're desiring can happen and will happen, and then you have to accept it when it comes, because our ego mind is going to convince us that it's going to be exactly like this. If you're in a meditative state and you visualize something in your head, we'll take it as gold, end all be all, this is exactly it. And I can be a testament to this. I have done different meditations and different manifestation things, and I have these visuals of where life goes, what happens, how things come about. And a lot of it, it's all come true. Everything that I've seen in my mind, it's all come true, but the circumstances are sometimes different. The people are different. The experiences are different. The places, the locations, so you can have the idea, and it kind of connects to that. If you ask God for a cake, then he gives you the eggs, the flour, and stuff to make it. When you're sitting there, he didn't answer my prayer, and he gave you all the tools you needed in order to answer it yourself. Another thing too that I really helped me to navigate through all of these things, and coming back to my intuition and helping me get back to that part of me that I knew is there, but I lacked the trust, the faith, or the belief. It's kind of a game I play with a lot of my clients, and it's like a 5 rule basically. And so you identify the emotion, what you're feeling. So if you're angry, then it's I'm angry because, and then first thing that comes to mind, there's no thinking, and I'll snap. What's the first thing that came, and really like get it out quick. And we do that 5 times minimum. And when we get to that, usually the 3rd or 4th time, they're getting a really clear picture of what's actually at the core of the problem, the emotion that they're experiencing, as opposed to what their conscious mind is filling them with to kind of bypass it.
Yeah. It's not the thing, it's the thing. It's not the thing, it's the thing. And so I love that kind of repetition, and really you start to feel that fire in your soul there where the true words come out, right? I'm someone who, I always used to say, like, I can BS my way through anything. I can fake it till I make it. I can make everything sound lovey and wonderful. I know exactly what to say in interviews, but often that's gotten me in places that really weren't meant for me.
Yeah.
Because I was putting on this facade that I thought would please other people, right? I'm a ex people pleaser, and I always still work through that, and some of those tendencies. And I love what you say about, the thoughts, and now it's scientific and it's just amazing. And it's proven. And what happens is so many of us think it's not working, right? I remember when I started meditating, I'm like, number one, I can't do that. I can't sit quietly. So I, of course, was in my own head that, like, it's just not possible. Of course it's not. If I don't think it is, if I don't believe it. And then when I started, like, other people were having experiences, and I'm like, well, this is just not working for me. Or I love the analogy, because I read that the other day on social media about that, like, we asked God for a cake, but he brought us all the ingredients, but we were so clouded that we couldn't see it. And that's why the work of tapping into that subconscious, tapping into gratitude, tapping into slowing down is so important in your life, because miracles literally happen all day, every day around you. And when you start to open your eyes up to them, your heart up to them, your mind up to them, it's easy and it's amazing. And it's like, why? I want everyone to be here, but people want to have to be there themselves. We can't drag them along. We can't force them into this work. And, as we work to kind of finish up our talk today, something that you said when we were preparing for all of this, because Chelsey knows I'm a note taker, so I've got notes, but Chelsey had said, we were talking about why something isn't missing and why things don't always work, and why doesn't implementation work, and why does it feel so hard? And you had said that, the sin is just forgetting. It's like, it's not that you have done something wrong. It's just you've forgotten how to access her or him. You've forgotten how to access your inner self. You've forgotten how to trust yourself, and like that trusting, allowing, believing, and accepting. We've just forgotten how to do it.
Yeah.
Even me, who coaches other people to do it, I sometimes forget how to do the work. And that's why it's important to surround yourself with people like you, Chelsey, a mastermind, a group, a support that can very frankly remind me that you're not doing the work.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm guilty of it. And I was having a conversation with my client the other day, and she says to me, how do you do it? Like, how do you trust in the way that you do? And that's such a loaded question, because in one instance, like, for the most part, I do. And part of the reason why I do so much is because in the moments where when I didn't trust what I knew at my core to be wrong or not good, not the thing that I should have been doing, the amount of trouble and pain and heartache I put myself through, and I kind of joke around a lot, we all have free will. But as you embark on kind of a spiritual journey and you start becoming aware of your intuition, you still have that level of free will, but you also then are very aware of the consequences if you don't listen to your instincts, if you don't listen to your heart center and what your heart is leading you to. If you stop listening to that, the ramifications of how your life flows, then you're in the point of, am I living a soul-driven life, or am I living a life that I was told I was supposed to live, And it's paradoxical to become your own best friend through these journeys, through the anything when it comes to religion, faith, spirituality, intuition, all of it. If you're not your own best friend through it, you're gonna float, you falter, because
Mm-hmm.
ultimately it is your journey and your journey alone. There's people along the way that will be supporters. There's people that will, maybe mentors or guides that will help you. But at the end of the day, you're the one that's walking through this. And if you can't trust, believe, and have that faith within yourself that things can change and my life can look different, it's not going to change.
Yeah. And the work is it's heavy. And that's why I love to support people through it. Because
Yeah.
I was there once where I didn't believe. There are times now, sometimes where I still don't believe and trust. And, like we're saying, when you said that soul driven, when you said that, I thought you said soldier. And I'm like, that's a great compliment of like, are you living a soul driven life or a soldier life? Right. Like,
Literally.
who how are you following this? And we're not telling you to like break all the rules and just do whatever you want, but this comes down to like saying no,
Yeah.
setting boundaries, telling yourself you love yourself, sitting in the quiet, right? Like doing the things that actually bring you the feeling, the energy of more love and peace and joy. And if for you that is going to basic training, amazing, that's great, And so we all have this own level. And I think it's important to know that just because something isn't working doesn't mean it's not available to you. Doesn't mean that there's so much out there. And we just encourage you to like not give up and that this work is always there. And the real sin is just forgetting that it is, forgetting that you're not capable. And that's why we walk through these journeys with people. I've loved this conversation, Chelsey. Anything else you want to add?
I just want to throw a little bit in there in terms of as parents, we forget there a lot in how our children, they are intuitive. They operate on instinct, and they may not always make the smartest choices. But how would the world change if, as a parent, we trusted our intuition in how to parent our children, as opposed to what everyone says we should do, how we should show up, how we should act?
Mhm.
My biggest joy in life is just playing. I love playing in whatever capacity, whether I'm in the water splashing with kids, or if I'm playing cards, or if I'm painting. Like I'm a very playful person by nature. And at some point, when I went from being a teenager to an adult, a switch flipped in my brain, and I was like, oh, you're an adult now. You have to be serious. You can't play anymore. And when I re-embraced active play in my life and showing up in a playful manner because it's who I am, that inner child of me, that's part's not gone. And she's not deeply wounded and broken and damaged anymore. And I can allow her to come out. And what has changed in my life and my ability to trust my intuition when I allow myself to embody my own childlike nature has transformed everything between my children, the dynamic relationship there, the adults around me, working relationships, everything across the board. So even though this stuff is hard and it can be challenging, it can be heavy, and not always the most joyous occasion, when you can embrace play and fun and spontaneity in with it, you're going to get a really good balance, and it makes it that much easier to keep doing the work.
Yeah, I love that. And the play, it's something that we forget as parents and as adults. And again, I know parents are doing the best they can with what they have. But really, the more I coach people, the more I help open their minds to what if you actually didn't do that for them?
Yeah.
What if you allowed them to fail? And that's, like my heart just seized up because like, it's so hard to watch your kids fail. It's hard to watch us fail. And so we don't allow us to do it, which means we never find that place that needs to be healed. We never feel the feelings that are driving us, that are taking over, like that fear you were talking about that just really consumed you, body, mind, and soul. So I love that, kind of challenge, that question to parents, just to consider. I love it. So next week, we're going to be sharing how all of you can start your journey of self-discovery and incorporating a connection with something or someone bigger than yourself. Because as we've shared, the theme is like, it's already inside of you. It's like, let's tap into it. Like, I just want to tap that, tree, get the sap out, or get the the goodness out of it, because it's just waiting to break through. And sometimes, or a lot of times, all of the mentors, the coaches in my life, like, they've always believed in me more than I've believed in myself to start with. And I've just had to borrow some of their belief until I get to that place where I'm ready to be. So we're excited to share how this is all possible for you as well.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, we'll talk to you next week.